Welcome to Pick Up and Deliver, the podcast where I pick up my audio recorder as I step off the train and deliver an episode to you while I walk home. I'm Brendan Riley. Well, folks, I've slipped a little bit in that generally I try to have the seasons capped by the calendar year, but we are still in season 6 for another, I think, 11 episodes, and it is January 3rd right now. Oh, dang. My goal, as you know, if you listened to, say, season 3, and I think season 4 I did this as well, my goal is to have the season run from late January to mid-December, and then take a couple months off, or a month and a half off. Last year, I did not get all the episodes I needed to get done, and so then I had some makeup episodes in January to lock that down, and it looks like I'm gonna have to do the same thing again this time. On the plus side, because I am teaching my January term class where I take the train every day, I should have time in the next 3 weeks, to record 11 episodes and lock down that season so that when we hit like July or January 20th or so, I can start season 7 with episode 600. So that'll be fun. But that means it's January 3rd. It's the beginning of the month, which means that it's time for Top of the Stack of January. Now, I am going to do Top of the Stack of January, but I am not going to set up everything from the Top of the Stack of January. I am saving that for, I don't know what you call the stack of the year. I'm going to save that for the beginning of season 7, in which I will talk about goals for the year and that sort of thing. All I'm going to share for this time are the 4 games that I'm putting on the top of the stack for January itself. But I would like to share what happened in December, because it was a rollicking good time. So, top of the stack, here we go. For those of you new to the podcast, the top of the stack is a feature that I swiped from the podcast of Nonsensical Gamers, in which I talked about what I'm going to play in the upcoming time, and try to have a sort of metaphorical stack of games that I'm trying to get played. It's just a way to kind of vocalize goals. I don't do all that great a job of holding myself accountable to listeners, because I often don't get it right, but whatever. I don't get them done, but whatever. It's fun to talk about. To start with, I would like to talk about how my previous month went. So, in December of 2023, I played 94 plays of 61 different games, which brings my year total for 2023 to 1,012 plays of 339 different games. So I guess 365 would be one different game each day for a year. 339 gets pretty close to that. Maybe that should be my goal next year, to play 365 different games next year. That seems like a fun goal. Challenging, but not unreachable, given that I played 339 different games already. There's some variance there that could have pushed it up. In terms of months, like I said, 94 plays of 61 different games. And to start off, I had 4 games on my top of the stack. I had Hadrian's Wall, Cerebria, Hunted Woad Ridge, and Vagrant Song. Well, December ended up being a very busy month, and I got almost nothing played from my top of the stack list. So I did play Hadrian's Wall once online. I almost don't want to count it, because while I did play it, I didn't really understand what was going on all that well. I could not have played it on paper, but when you play online, it tells you where you can click. So I'm not sure I should count it as a play or not, but I did go through a game of it. I did not, however, get a chance to play Cerebria, Hunted Woad Ridge, or Vagrant Song. So we'll see how many of those games make it into next month's set. I did, however, get to try lots of new games this month. Coming into December, I had played 113 games that were new to me this year. Tried out for the first time 113 games. In December, I played 14 more new games. So my total for the year of new games tried is 127 new games, which I feel pretty great about that. Let's see. 104 would be 2 new games a week, and I did better than that. That's pretty great. I'm really excited about that number, and it means I got to experience lots of new stuff. And as you know from listening, trying a new game is almost my favorite thing about gaming. So the new games I tried this month are Hadrian's Wall, Amun-Re, the 20th anniversary edition, Puerto Rico, 1897, Pit, That's a Question, Tapple, Wyatt Earp, Thunder Road Vendetta, Brian Boru, High King of Ireland, Trophies, Smug Owls, Pretense, Shut the Box, Dungeons and Dragons, Dungeon Scrawlers, Heroes of Undermountain, and Cosmoctopus. Lots of bangers in there. Really good games this month. Happy to have played them. So I did try 2 new expansions this month. One of them, the Isle of Cats, Kittens, Beasts, and Boat pack. We tried both Kittens and Beasts. Those were fun. And we played the Monochrome Inc. chapter of Adventure Games. Now, this is a thing, it's interesting because Adventure Games is a series of games designed by Brett Gilbert and Phil Walker Harding, where there's a story and there's a bunch of puzzles to solve and stuff to explore, etc., etc. One way to categorize those is to have each one be a different game. To think of Adventure Games as a game, to think of Adventure Games Volcanic Island as a game, Adventure Games Monochrome Inc. as a game, and so on. What I do instead is the first time I play a game in a series like that, I count it as a new game played, and thereafter I count them as expansions. Mostly that's because I feel like it's not a new game. If I'm playing a new chapter or a new version, a new round of a game I've played before, it feels more like an expansion than a new game. So that's how I categorize it. I do the same thing with Unlock and Exit games. When I play those, I put them in the category of expansions, which actually reminds me, we also played the Exit Lord of the Rings expansion in December as well, which I forgot to include on here. I did get several games out of the dust, which is always fun. As a reminder, Out of the Dust is a classification, it's a metaphorical classification of a game you haven't played in a year. When you let a game sit on the shelf for a year or more, it gets dusty. And so to get a game out of the dust is to play it when it's been more than a year. This month, I played 6 games from In the Dust to Out of the Dust. And those are The Isle of Cats. It had been a year and 8 months and 18 days since I played that. Terra Mystica. It had been 2 years, 7 months, and 14 days since I played that. Lords of Waterdeep. It had been 1 year, 1 month, and 5 days. Downforce. It had been 3 years, 5 months, and 20 days. And finally, Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. 5 years, 6 months, 22 days. And finally, Santa's Workshop. 1 year and 6 days. It seems unlikely that Santa's Workshop will make the dusty list next year, because it sort of feels like the kind of game we're going to play once a year at Christmas time, sometime between December 20th and December 31st. And so since we played it on December 31st this year, the odds are very low that next year it'll be more than a year till we play it. Well, it's time to report on the 10 by 10 challenge. As you recall, this year, my 10 by 10 challenge goal was I picked 10 designers, and the goal was to play games by them 10 times. As a secondary note, some of these designers had games available to play online, and so I kept a separate list of how many times I played their games online versus on the table. Now, if you count online plays and table plays, I got pretty close to meeting the 10 by 10. I think I came up 3 games short. If you add table plays to online plays, I came up 3 games short. So in online plays, I played 5 Martin Wallace games, more than 10 Vladimir Suchy games, more than 10 Reiner Knizia, more than 10 Inka Brand, 9 Phil Walker Harding, more than 10 Tom Lehman, 6 Elizabeth Hargrave, and more than 10 of Vlaada Chvátil, Uwe Rosenberg, and Karl Chudek. So just in online plays, I nearly made that 10 for 10. Of course, that's much easier to do than to do real face-to-face plays. So it doesn't really count. And I don't think I'm going to do a thing next year where online plays will count for anything. It's just not the same. So in real plays, or table plays, I did not do nearly as well. I definitely did not get, I got very close to 50, but not quite. So I got 48 real plays on the table with games from these designers. Around November, I thought 50 would be a good target to go for, but I just did not get my act together to finish it out. So here are the counts for on the table plays from these designers. Martin Wallace, I played 7 games on the table. Vladimir Suchy, 7 games. Reiner Knizia, 8 games. Inka Brand, only 4, and those were all exit games. The reality is I just don't have any Inka Brand games to play. I used to have My Village, I sold it. I did not get Village. I was kind of thinking I would get Village this year, but I did not get it. And so there you go. Phil Walker Harding, 5 plays. Tom Lehman, 4 plays. I think 1 play of City and 3 plays of Res Arcana, or else 2 plays of City, 2 plays of Res Arcana, something like that. 2 Elizabeth Hargrave, 5 Vlada Shavatel. Like 3 or 4 of those are code names. One of them is That's a Question, for sure. Uwe Rosenberg, 2 plays, and Carl Chudik, 4 plays. So overall, a pretty satisfying 10 for 10 this year, but I did not complete the list. It really does beg the question, though, and I would love your help in the next couple weeks, friends of the pod, figuring out what I am going to do for my 10 for 10 this year. This year I did designers. Last year we did games picked by my family, I believe. I have done a variety of different approaches. I was thinking about game types this year, so like deck builders, worker placement games, adventure games, I don't know. That might be interesting. I'm not sure how easy that would be to track, but you know, just like anything. Or maybe I'll just go back to a standard 10 for 10. What I might want to do is pick out 10 games that I think my wife might be willing to play with me and do a 10 for 10 with her. But I don't know if she'll want to play games that often. We'll see. I don't know if you can hear this. Somebody's cutting some wood near where I'm walking. So there's lots of noises going on there. Hopefully it's not ruining my recording. I'll have to go through and double check, but I think I ended up at 43 out of 52 on the game challenge. Not great. I feel like I could have done better, but I stopped paying attention to it. Like I said, December was a really busy month. I was not able to organize my gameplays with the vigor that I would have liked. It looks like I got a couple of them, so it might be better than 42, but it's not, definitely didn't get to 52. On my painting goal, I did not get any painting done in December. It might be fun to get some done in here in January. I would like to, but it's just only so many hours in the day. And finally, on my shelf of opportunity log, at the beginning of the year, I had 55 games on my shelf. My goal was to get it down to 30. At the end of the year, I had 66 games on my shelf. So not only did I not get it down to 30, it increased by 11. That said, the list started with 55 games on the list. As I added games to my collection this year, I added numbers to the list. And the last game I added came in on December 31st, and that was Medieval Academy at number 126. So that means I acquired and put on the Shelf of Opportunity list roughly 46 games, which is a lot, but not outrageous. Seems like fewer than last year. And given that I got a lot of games from Goodwill this year, I feel like I did much better in terms of controlling my game acquisition habits. That said, I was not doing that great at getting rid of games, and so I still ended up with more games at the end of the year than I started with. In fact, at the beginning of the year, my collection had 560 games in it, and at the end of this year, I was up to 576, which means that even though I acquired 40 games, I got rid of 30 or 24. So that's not bad. I mean, that's at least making an effort. Probably could make an effort more, but now with 575 or 576 games, I guess it's going to feel like, 600 feels like a natural cap. Maybe I can acquire 25 more without getting rid of any. No, that's nuts. You should see the place where my games are. It's overwhelmed. So not good. But anyway, so that is kind of where I'm at here at the end of January. I have started the process of getting ready for next year. I don't know exactly what I'm going to be playing yet. I will announce that in late January, although I promise I will set it soon. If you want to go to Board Game Geek and click my top of the stack, you'll see my January top of the stack for 2024 will be set, but I'm not going to announce it on here until the beginning of season 7 when I do the beginning of the year roundup. For sure, one of the games is going to be Vagrant Song. We'll see what else tickles my fancy. Well, that brings me to home and to the end of the podcast. So thanks for joining me on my walk today. Happy New Year, and I hope that your next walk is as pleasant as mine was. Bye-bye.
Brought to you by Rattlebox Games.